Namaste everyone. Thank you for joining in this video. So today I'll be speaking about the meaning of the aspects of Jupiter. Okay. So today I'll be covering from houses 1 to 6, and in the next video after this I'll be covering the remaining houses. Okay. So Jupiter, we know that Jupiter is regarded as the most auspicious planet or the most beneficial planet by Parashara in the BPHS. Okay, so it is the planet of divine grace, optimism, okay, knowledge, true intelligence, philosophy, preachers, quality, the quality of your work, wealth, children. So wherever Jupiter aspects, it tries to protect that house. Okay, it it is just like showing you the brighter side of life. So one thing that that you must keep in mind, that this thing can be positive as well as negative. Okay, so don't think that Jupiter's aspects are only are always positive. They might not be positive, they can be negative as well. Okay, so on the positive side, Jupiter can make life easy when it aspects the difficult houses. Okay, but then at times it actually hides the absolute truth. Okay, because Jupiter's ability to expand on positive qualities brings about extreme optimism that can be damaging in some ways. All right. So for those who for those who are not well versed with the aspects of Jupiter, Jupiter aspects the 5th, 7th, and 9th houses from wherever it sits. Okay. So Jupiter in the first house, this is a excellent placement for Jupiter to be in. Okay. So it ends Digbala in the first house. Okay, so in the first house, Jupiter will aspect the 5th, 7th, and 9th houses. Okay, so Jupiter in the first house of physical body, personality, life force, decision making, it makes a person a natural teacher and a preacher. Okay, a teacher and a preacher. Yeah, so people with Jupiter in the first house, they have a natural inclination towards education, religion, rituals, and philosophy. They have a very soothing and pleasant nature. Okay, they have a very attractive and a sort of divine personality that wants to help and educate others about the true meaning of life. So these folks, they are very good at being lawyers, professors, and doctors. Okay, and this is not due to this is not just due to the placement of Jupiter in the first house. It is also the aspect of Jupiter on on the dharma bhavas. Okay, the 5th and 9th houses, the first, 5th, and 9th houses are known as dharma bhava, which means the houses of wisdom. Okay, so the dharma is what we should be doing in life instead of what we want to do. Okay, so you know if a female has this placement of Jupiter in the first house, she can expect to find her husband in a environment linked to physical activity like sports or the gym. Why? Because Jupiter is the karaka for the spouse. Okay, for a female, that is. So from the first house, Jupiter aspects the 5th house by its 5th aspect, and by doing so, it sends its optimistic and wise nature towards the house of creativity. Yes, the 5th house is the house of creativity, children, performing arts, and political affairs. And Jupiter, which is of course the natural karaka of education, it brings about love for for all the 5th house activities. It is a great promise for having children and having a bright career in terms of education. Okay, so these people, they want to become a guide for the children, and when it comes to creativity, there is always a hint of philosophy and religion attached to it. Okay, so these people, they possess a lot of confidence because the first house is being of personality and ego is being expanded by Jupiter. Okay, but then suppose Jupiter is debilitated. For example, for Capricorn ascendant, if Jupiter placed in the first house, if Jupiter is placed in the first house, it is debilitated, right? So such a debilitated Jupiter can make a person overconfident and egoistic, where there would be a lot of brain fog, if I could put it that way. Okay, where there is a lack of wisdom that can actually cloud their judgment. Okay, so from the first house, Jupiter aspects the 7th house of marriage, legal partnerships, and the other people. Okay, so here, because Jupiter is aspecting the seventh house, the spouse actually becomes a source of optimism, wealth, and knowledge for the native. Okay, and unless Jupiter is afflicted or debilitated, the spouse will be religious usually, but then the spouse can also be egocentric by nature, right? The person will find a good progress when legal partnerships and marriage happens, but then, if Saturn is somehow influencing the seventh house, then marriage can become a bit difficult. Legal partnerships can cause difficulties to the native. Okay, but anyways, if Jupiter is well placed in the first house, then the native will become a guide for their spouse and also a source of divine knowledge. Okay, so interaction with other people will be very pleasant, right? And there is also support from the legal system if Jupiter is well placed, right? So from the first house, Jupiter aspects the ninth house. Okay, so you know the ninth house, or when Jupiter aspects the ninth house from the first house, it brings about tremendous joy when the native follows higher knowledge, religion, and rituals. Okay, so there is a spiritual or religious touch in one's pursuits. Okay, and there is also an active interest in reading about ancient scriptures. Okay, and these people, they are very, very respectful of their gurus. Okay, and they have a thirst for philosophy and religion. Okay, so the teachings of the father would be very, very important to them. All right, unless and until the ninth lord is debilitated, the teachings of the father make these people who they are. All right, and suppose the fatherly figure is somehow absent, suppose the father passes on in childhood for these natives, then in such cases another fatherly figure would actually take the place of the biological father. Okay, and this aspect on the ninth house also wants the native to go towards higher degrees in terms of education. Okay, now Jupiter in the second house. So from the second house, Jupiter will aspect the sixth, eighth, and the 10th house. Okay, so in the second house, Jupiter, one having Jupiter in the second house, he or she will be a natural speaker with a focus on spirituality. Okay, and these people, they have a very divine, soothing voice that helps them create wealth. The second house, it represents speech, food, family, wealth, and assets. Okay, and these people, they not only love collecting valuables, but they also want to gain knowledge of all things that can be valued. Okay, and those things include money, maybe gems and jewelry, history, culture, and art, and everything. All right, and because Jupiter is the natural giver of knowledge, it actually provides a keen interest in these individuals to create and save money. Okay, one can also have a strong inclination towards classical singing and music, and these people, they also enjoy writing, they enjoy art and poetry, which increases their spiritual value. Okay, so this placement of Jupiter makes a natural storyteller of historical events and the ancient past. All right, but then if Jupiter is badly placed, it can make a person naive towards wealth and pleasure. Okay, so suppose Jupiter is badly placed in the second house, one can actually end up thinking that wealth is always there no matter what the circumstances are. Okay, so even if these people, they have, say, 1 rupee in their pocket, they can actually feel very, very wealthy because Jupiter is adding to that optimism. All right, and because of those illusions, they usually tend to keep away from working hard in life. All right, and if this combination is present in the chart of a female, then that female can actually end up meeting her husband through familial ties and connections. Okay, now from the second house, Jupiter aspects the sixth house with its fifth aspect, and this aspect, it actually brings about benefits from enemies, debt, and fewer obstacles for a native. Okay, so even if the native is living below their means, they will not be hindered by people creating obstacles for them. But then on the flip side, Such an aspect actually makes a person overly optimistic about getting out of death, which is usually a trap. Okay, so how is it a trap? These people, they end up thinking that he or she can repay any loan possible, and they end up taking a huge loan, which then results in becoming bankrupt. Okay, why? Because the second house is a marka house, or a death inflicting house. So although Jupiter provides protection wherever he sits, there isn't much help provided in the Mahadasha of Jupiter regarding wealth. All right. But then, this aspect can actually protect one from suffering under any kind of food poisoning. Why? Because, the second house is the house of food, and all the planets, they enter our body or our digestive system through the food. Okay. So these people, they love small animals and pets, especially dogs, because the sixth house is the house of pets. And on the flip side, again, one is usually prone to leave their education behind due to lack of interest in the structure of a school, or due to not having interest in obtaining a degree. This can happen in some charts. All right. Now, in the second house, Jupiter aspects the eighth house. Okay, and this aspect provides great benefits from in-laws and joint assets. But then, in-laws can be inflicting pain on the native if Saturn or Ketu is involved, either in the eighth house. Okay, in either of the houses. That means in either the second house or the eighth house. All right, and because Jupiter is the karaka of all kinds of knowledge, the person can take a deep interest in the field of occult. Okay, and this can actually become their main education throughout life. Okay, and these people, they feel a great sense of power and optimism while knowing the secrets of the world. They feel that they know more than a common person can know. Okay, and because Jupiter is looking at the eighth house, so the native is usually protected from sudden accidents and surgeries and blessed with a long life. Okay, but then this aspect on the eighth house is coming from the marka house. That means the marka house is the second house, and the eighth house is also known as the house of death. Okay, so there is always this sense of a dark cloud looming while dealing with with their family or with your spouse's family. Okay, so this is one great combination for someone to become an astrologer. Okay, and then from the second house, Jupiter looks at the 10th house of career, status, and father. So this aspect amplifies the hope for a good career and reputation. Okay, so one will be inclined towards a career either in finance or in teaching. And since Jupiter is sitting in the house of family, it can actually push oneself to take over the family business, or maybe carry out the profession of one's father. Okay, but then for this placement, one of the best career paths would be a motivational public speaker who focuses on life and wealth management. Okay, and if Jupiter is not afflicted or debilitated, then the relationship with the father is very good. But then, to go to a conclusion on this, you first have to look at the condition of the sun, as well as the, the placement of the 10th lord. Okay. So now we come to Jupiter in the third house. This is not a good position for Jupiter to be, because third house is regarded as the Maran Karan Sthan of Jupiter. Okay. So from the third house, Jupiter will aspect the seventh, ninth, and 11th houses. Okay. So what is the third house? It's about media, it's about art, journalism, initiative, willpower, short distance travel, and close neighbors too. Okay. So, Jupiter, who is the teacher and giver of knowledge, it provides all types of education to the native by interacting with siblings and close neighbors. Okay. Because it is the planet of expansion, it expands communication and organizational skills at work. And in the house of skills and hobbies, Jupiter actually, it's all about inspiring the native to educate others. Okay. So it can actually produce a very cooperative individual who relies on the efforts of others to create a project. And because Jupiter is the planet of optimism, it brings a lot of hope in one's efforts. Okay. It also gives the skills of writing, speaking, and communicating. And there is a lot of faith, when you hear the words of these people. Okay. because because the third house is the house of marketing, so their marketing and selling style actually becomes philosophical. Okay, so in the third, from the third house, Jupiter will aspect the seventh house. And what is the seventh house? It's about marriage, legal partnerships, legal bindings, business, trade, and other people. Okay, so if a female has this combination, she may meet her husband through close neighbors, siblings, or even through an artistic environment. Okay, and Jupiter, it provides a very business minded spouse who can be a very gifted communicator. Okay, and the spouse will usually become a source for philosophical and entrepreneurial discussions. Okay, so these people, they enjoy teaching their spouse new things on a regular basis, and more or less the marriage will work. Okay, it will be a very happy marriage. All right, and displacement of Jupiter, it actually shows that the person who is having displacement has mastered the art of diplomacy. Okay, so from the third house, Jupiter aspects the ninth house. Okay, and this ninth house is about higher learning, philosophy, religion, rituals, and long distance travels. So Jupiter, it brings about great optimism when it comes to education and improving one's skills in communication. Okay, marketing and sales. Now it might not make a person go for a very higher degree like PhD, but they can actually pursue a master's degree, maybe an MBA or something. Okay, so the third house is like a, it's like a realistic placement for Jupiter. So the native is more realistic about what their knowledge and education means. That means they will not be going for education just for the sake of it. They will actually want to derive value out of whatever they are learning. Okay, and this aspect on the ninth house, it motivates in the individuals or the natives to attain higher knowledge and improve their teamwork and administrative skills. Okay, so in the third house, or from the third house, Jupiter aspects the 11th house by its ninth aspect. And what is the 11th house? It indicates gains, you know, professional friends, network circles, and dreams. So Jupiter in the third house of teamwork and close friends, it brings the native in contact with highly spiritual, educated, and motivated individuals who can help the native improve their projects and communication skills. Okay, so Jupiter also brings a lot of help from elder siblings and network circles. The native can also gain higher knowledge through their friends. Okay, because 11th house is the house of friends. So the native can also learn a lot while interacting with people from a corporate environment, and they always gain by taking initiatives and running their own business with a solid team. Okay, now Jupiter on the fourth house, this is again an excellent placement for Jupiter to be. So from the fourth house, Jupiter will aspect the 8th, 10th, and the 12th house. Okay, so Jupiter, we know that it exalts in the natural fourth house of Cancer. So being in the fourth house, it is very comfortable in the house of mother, nourishment, early education, land, home, and conveniences. Okay. Jupiter, it brings about optimism and love from within the home. And the mother is not only a source of affection, but also education and wisdom. Okay. So Jupiter provides a sizable home to the native while growing up. Its Mahadasha also provides the native with his own residence as an adult. Okay. So, home base is a deep rooted place where the native finds a lot of spiritual bliss. And even after marriage, the home will be blessed with peace and harmony. Okay. Originally, Jupiter is exalted. We know that in the sign of Cancer, which is again ruling the fourth house. Okay. So it makes the mother a very, a very religious minded lady. Okay. And the mother can also have the profession of a school teacher or a professor. And in order to see the relationship with the mother, the moon's condition has to be evaluated. Because why? Because moon is the karaka for motherhood. Okay, so this placement also attaches one to their homeland. And a female, if a female has this placement, she she will meet her husband in a home environment like the kitchen or living room or backyard or any other place that is like home. Okay, so from the fourth house, Jupiter aspects the 8th house of sudden events. And what does the 8th house include? It includes joint taxes, assets, occult secrets, and surgeries. So Jupiter, it provides protection, and one's domestic knowledge extends into learning about the occult and the medicine. Okay, So this aspect of Jupiter, it brings a creative flow towards the unknown. And even if these experiences are not so good, Jupiter actually keeps the person very optimistic. Okay. So Jupiter does not deny difficult times, but it provides a natural healing light. So the native is also very curious to learn about the secrets of the world. They feel that occult knowledge is a way to understanding oneself. And displacement also gives very, very religious, very, very spiritual rather, or religious, or philosophical in-laws. Okay. So from the fourth house, Jupiter aspects the 10th house with its seventh aspect. And then this 10th house is, it is the house of status, father, government, and fluctuations in career. So Jupiter, it brings a very positive professional, reputation to the native. These people are natural teachers and make good professors who can actually nurture the students. Okay, so these people, they have knowledge of domestic life and real estate, which may drive them towards selling property with passion. Okay, and providing security to strangers, it's a way of life. Okay, and this aspect on the 10th house also brings an easy and educational work environment. Okay, so in short, the native can actually make the most of their potential to teach. Okay. From the fourth house, again, Jupiter aspects the 12th house with its ninth house aspect. This 12th house, it represents the psychic world, imagination, intuition, foreign lands, spiritual and isolated places. Okay. So this aspect of Jupiter, it makes the native crave to make their home a spiritual sanctuary. And you know, these people, they appreciate meditation, and through a secure home life, they are able to pursue a spiritual practice. Okay, so home becomes an oasis. Jupiter becomes a psychologist or a guide for people in jails and hospitals. Okay, so these natives, they enjoy travel, and Jupiter wants to reject religion and follow the true essence of humankind, which is of course the soul. Okay, so they want to connect with beings of other dimensions and gain knowledge through them. Okay, and this knowledge will go beyond religion and rituals, and these natives are able to tap into their wisdom in the 12th house of hidden talents. Okay, so next is Jupiter in the fifth house. So from the fifth house, it aspects the ninth, 11th, and the first house. Yes, so what does the fifth house represent? It represents children, creativity, performing arts, gambling, politics, and education. So because Jupiter is the greatest benefit, it provides optimism towards education and creativity. Okay, the creative part of the native's life will be very philosophical as well as spiritual by nature. And the creativity of the native is geared towards achieving academic success, because Jupiter, which is the natural teacher and educator, tends to provide the native with knowledge by interacting with children, diving into performing arts, and indulging in studies. Okay. So, although the fifth house is a great place for education and creativity, it tends to delay children for the native. Why? Because it is due to Jupiter's overly optimistic quality with regards to childbearing and a lack of effort towards development. Okay, so one tends to be overconfident about having children without trying. And this person or the native who has this placement is a great follower of religion, philosophy, and guru's teachings. Okay, so this is a great placement to have for stockbrokers and financial advisors. You know, these people are creative financial pundits who know how to attain wealth. Okay, uh, you know, if a female has this combination, she will meet her husband in an entertainment party setting or political arena or academic environment or at a stage play. Okay, so there are a lot of places where these people can meet. So again, from the fifth house, Jupiter aspects the ninth house from its fifth aspect, and this aspect brings about enthusiasm in in achieving an advanced academic education. Okay, so Jupiter's aspect upon the house that it naturally controls makes the native very respectful towards his teachers and father. Okay, so Jupiter will also bring opportunities to study abroad for for graduate work. And for these natives, the father will be like a guru and provide wisdom while the native is growing up. Okay. So from the fifth house, it aspects the 11th house of gains, network circles, elder siblings, and large organizations. So what Jupiter does at that is uses its financial skills in the stock market to bring about gains. Okay, and through their network circles, these people, they can expand their speculative wealth. Okay, so this aspect provides a large number of friends who assist in guiding the native towards achieving their goals. Okay, so Jupiter gives political ambitions. These people, they help organize large fundraisers for for different purposes. Okay, and while performing arts, they also meet people who help them with artistic pursuits. So this is one of the you know best positions for financial gains with Jupiter. The native, he or she will acquire a lot of wealth through teaching, financial management, and philosophy. Okay, so from the fifth house, Jupiter again aspects the ascendant to the first house, and this is about the self, personality, health, and vitality. So Jupiter, it gives the native a very pleasant and intelligent personality. One can become a teacher even in their personal life. So if one becomes a teacher, then education and children will be the core of their existence and personality. So these people, they love classical music, movies, and art. Life becomes something about maintaining financial balance and philosophical learning. Okay, so these people, they allow a set of principles to accomplish their goals. They are very generous and give sound advice, which makes them the best counselors. Okay, next, Jupiter in the sixth house. Again, not a very good placement for Jupiter to be in, but then from the sixth house, Jupiter aspects the 10th, 12th, and the second houses. Okay, so the sixth house is known as one of the Dushthanas. It represents diseases, enemies, deaths, obstacles, and divorces. Okay, so Jupiter tries to look at the bright side, but this person may be forced to think rationally rather than philosophically. Okay, Jupiter wants to preach his way through dealing with enemies and obstacles, and this placement is mostly seen with lawyers and accountants. And Jupiter, being the planet of optimism, is overly optimistic about relying on faith to survive difficult times. Okay, so this placement can bring about huge debts, as the native would believe that faith in God can repay those debts. Okay, the stress of education, children, and debt can harm the health of the native, especially the liver. But then Jupiter provides love of pets and small animals. If Jupiter exalted or in his own sign of Sagittarius or Pisces, no enemy would be able to harm these natives, and they will make money, okay, through their rivals. So they have trouble seeking spiritual guidance of any kind, as they you know as they fear being cheated. The native usually gains knowledge by struggling and dealing with adversity, and we find our divine education wherever Jupiter is placed. So if this position is there for a female, then a female will actually meet her husband in a courthouse or hospital or non-profit organization, or even a charity event. Okay, so from the sixth house, Jupiter looks at the 10th house of career and reputation, and it gives a strong inclination towards the service industry. So these people, they make great government workers, lawyers, social workers, and non-profit leaders. Okay, so the reputation of the native is well perceived in history. I'm sorry, is well perceived not in history, in society, unless Jupiter is debilitated. Okay, so in such cases, the native will be known as someone. If Jupiter is debilitated, then the native will be known as someone who starts arguments and fights to get ahead in life. Okay, so this aspect gives a strong inclination towards being a government servant, like a lawyer or guidance counselor for Sagittarius, Virgo, Scorpio, and Taurus ascendants. Okay, and one can actually make a living through debates, dealing with disagreements, or non-profit social groups. So from the from the sixth house, Jupiter aspects the 12th house. And because of this aspect, the native can benefit in foreign lands while dealing with enemies and debt. Okay, so there are spiritual lessons that needs to be learned through enemies, diseases, and obstacles. And after going through many hurdles, these natives will start preaching and bring optimism to others. Okay, so providing words of wisdom or helping hands leads them to find enlightenment and peace. Okay, and Jupiter's aspect on the 12th house shows that spirituality is earned by overcoming obstacles in the world. Only by, only by, or only after dealing with the negative side of life does one can find peace, spirituality, and abundance in foreign places. Okay, so such lessons are usually realized 45, and Jupiter becomes a guide for people in jails and asylums. He reassures them that this is not the end; it is maybe only the beginning. Okay, so from the 6th house, Jupiter aspects the 2nd house of wealth and family, and Jupiter, it provides wealth through conflicts, dealing with enemies, and financial management. Okay, so one learns about the higher purpose and knowledge of wealth by diving into the world of disagreements and resolving them. Okay, so they appreciate this ability since the 2nd house represents whatever we value. So this aspect can make the native aware of one's family values and culture when when dealing with the harshness of the world. Okay, so the speech of these people, it is very, very bold, it is very, very brave and determined to fix family issues, deaths, and family business matters. Okay, so that's it from me in this video. I'll be covering the remaining houses in the next video. Till then, you know watch the recordings, like the content, subscribe to this channel, and should you have any query or a discussion regarding your chart, you're always free to ping me at the given WhatsApp number. Okay, so I'll see you soon in the next video. Namaste everyone. Om Gurave Namah.